Hi. So I'm back for the second stream for today. First one over here at YouTube. If you've not seen my Instagram lives, I've covered all of this during the live streams. I just switch between the different platforms because I know that some people prefer the one over the other. So I just wanted to switch a bit and see what works for me as well, because I definitely want to stream more in the future, and I need to figure out where and when would be the best time and place. So yeah. In terms of quality, I like YouTube the best, I think. So it might be worth it to subscribe to my channel here to get notifications outside of Instagram whenever I'm streaming. And of course, if you don't find the time to watch my streams while they are live, they will be there for you to watch later on. So there's no pressure and everything's just easy and not complicated at all. I do have a second monitor so I can see whenever there's a comment. So if you want to ask something, feel free to do so. If there are questions or comments in German, I will answer them in German first and give a short summary in English, because I know that English isn't really everyone's favorite or everybody understands it, so I just want to make it more comfortable. I'll probably put down the basic information about this painting in the info box after I'm done streaming, like what paper I've used and what kind of media I've used, because it's a lot and it might be a bit confusing sometimes. Some people ask me, oh, you're working with, like right now I'm working with colored inks, or you're working with ink right now, have you done the entire piece in ink? So as I'm working with different media, it always gets a bit confusing sometimes, so it might be a good idea just to quickly note it down in the description so you can check it out if you're interested. Because with questions like this one, it's always something that gets asked a lot and it's a bit repetitive from time to time, so making a bit of a FAQ section wouldn't hurt. I maybe should have done that before I started the the stream. I think I can do a description for the video, but yeah, I just missed that opportunity right now. It's part of the learning process for me. Next time I will do it a bit better, hopefully. At least I will try to keep that in mind. Thank you for the praise. As long as the information isn't there, I think it might be best just to give a quick info on what I'm using at the moment. It's white Colorex. It's quite opaque, but it's still liquid enough so you can easily apply it with a brush. It's this one. It says watercolor, but it's really opaque. I haven't used the colored Colorex ones in a while, but I really like the white one. There are other whites I can use as well, but those are one of those I like to use is currently. I think it's either missing or it's empty. Yeah, it's just not on hand. So I chose to do the white highlights with the Colorex ink, and it works pretty well. The only difficult part is to apply it over colored pencils sometimes, because the pencils tend to build up like a waxy layer, which prevents the liquid from sticking to the paper, but other than that it works pretty fine. I'm just using a very thin liner brush to add some highlights and some additional thin strands of hair to make the hair a bit more interesting and give it a bit more movement. I would do it for nearly every painting I'm doing, and if, for example, white isn't the best color, it would be too harsh. For example, for dark hair, you can simply go over the white parts with a marker after it has dried, and it will stain the white a bit, but it will still remain as a highlight. For example, if you do black hair, you can choose a dark blue or whatever light color you have would work for that. Go over the white, and you had some nice highlights without them sticking out too much, but they would still be very visible and pretty. I will probably go over the white ones in a few areas so you can see what I'm talking about later in action as well. Different option would be to pre-mix the color, but I really don't like using an additional palette for mixing, so I just like the marker method. It works fine for me. If you're just using watercolors or poster colors, it might be better to mix before you apply the color, because you wouldn't be able to go over the white with a liquid. It would just smudge the lines. I've used mainly watercolor with a bit of colored pencils for the skin part. There's a tiny bit of marker as well, especially in this area. The hair is mostly marker and colored pencils for the details. So I'm always using either markers or watercolors for the base and just add some more details and color variations with the colored pencils because they're easier to handle. They're a bit more precise. The nice thing about this white as well is that you can reactivate it with water. So if everything has dried and all that, don't like the starting point of the line like this one, which is quite harsh, I can just add some water to it and like blend it in with the rest. Of course, as I said it in the beginning, but I'm always welcoming questions so that there is something that makes sense to talk about. So feel free to ask if there's anything you want to know. And it's not like the stream's too crowded for me to keep track on what's going on in the comment section, so there's no issue at all. It's not like I'm a popular streamer or something, so it's most of the time really quiet here. So I think that's enough of the white for now. Maybe just lighten up the nail a bit because it's a bit dull. Now I'm just, as I said, editing a bit of the white areas which I don't like. For example, here is a bit too much. I'm just wetting my brush again. I've cleaned it from the white, so it's just water, and then you can just go over the dry lines and you can re-wet them and change them so that they fit in nicely. Oops, that's a bit too much of water. My number one watercolor tip: keep a paper towel near, so if you're using too much water you can always just dip once or twice and get rid of the excess water. I've been using this one ever since I started coloring this piece, so it's a bit yeah, it has worked quite a lot already. But I don't want to waste too many paper towels, so I'm trying to make use of it as much as I can. And it still does its job, so there's no reason to ditch it at this point. So I think for now it's okay. And I'm just starting to apply some marker to the lower part because that should have dried by now, and then I will go over to the top because that's what I've been working on last. Yeah, they really are lifesavers. Especially if you're using hot press paper, which is really a thing on its own. It's totally different from cold pressed watercolor paper. You cannot lift the colors too easily, so if you're making a mistake, it often stays that way. So if you've got a paper towel handy, it's always useful. So I don't know if the stream picks it up right now, but you can still see the line I've made, but it's just in this caramel color instead of the white, so it's nicer looking. You can use this technique not only for like hair, but for patterns as well, or for texture. For example, if you've got a knitted sweater, you can just add the texture with white and then go over it with a marker, so you don't have to keep track of where the pattern is and color accordingly. It's easier that way. Just add some shaders in the end and then you're good to go. By the way, it also works if you want to blend the colors on top of the white. It works nicely as well. Just pick a lighter shade or like a blender, and then it will blend just like it would on colored paper. My tongue just keeps getting twisted. I'm not used to talk that much anymore. But if there's something that was hard to understand, please tell me and I will try to repeat it and explain it again. Actually, no. For usual drawings, I would start with the background most of the time, but this one will just be white. I will color in the clothing, and we'll do just like a peony pattern over here. That won't be colored in though, so there's no real background because it was just like a portrait commission, which usually has no background. So that's why there isn't a background at this point. But if there were a background planned, I would just do it first, usually, to get an idea of which colors to use, where to blend, to keep the color scheme in check. But it's just not necessarily necessary here, so I'm not doing it. I would just blend to white in these areas, but the clothing will be white as a base as well, so that's quite easy. So I think I will leave the hair as it is for now. It's missing some lines here and there. I will just quickly add them. And then that should be it for the hair for this part. Sometimes the liner just gets lost in the coloring process. Sometimes it's just too harsh, so it's really a thing that I'm adjusting constantly while drawing and painting. Hmm. You mean like which color to go for at the moment? Like if I'm doing some color variations, or more like how I'm coming up with color schemes in general? Shouldn't be brushing away the dust and the pigments with my hand too much, but I don't know where my brush is right now. I'm having like a big brush that's designated for that purpose. So for now, I'll At least there's no color there, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. I guess at least I hope so. Okay, so about color schemes. For this one, this is a commission, so much of the base colors like the eye color, the hair color, part of the clothing is already predetermined because I get the reference for the character, and I will just have to draw it. Maybe adjust it to the light setting I want to draw, but other than that, there's like a basis I want to work with. In this case, I'm adding like these hair accessories, like the peonies and the tassel, like some. Why are you? Siri just activated. Sorry. Which I want to add, which aren't included in the base design. So I just pick colors that were similar to the ones that I've used before, so that they are repeating. Because if you use the color and use it in a different area of the drawing for a second time, it always makes the color scheme more cohesive. So I've used like a bit of turquoise, like a light with a light one over here, and added it to the eye again. So it's a bit more interesting. I'll probably add it to the colors as well, so that colors are repeating. And for the character, it's really nice that the original creator picked like a copper caramel tone for the hair and like a purple for the eyes, because that's a really nice contrast. So I will want to work with that as a base. If it's something completely new, I usually just think about what mood the painting should have, and like then pick colors accordingly. Pick colors that are contrasting, like have a or like really monotone colors that work together well. If you don't have an idea at all, you can always get like color scheme generators like Cooler. It's an online application which just simply gives you a color scheme which you can work with. There are tons of different options. For me, it's mostly about light and setting and mood, so I'm choosing colors based on that. But oftentimes I'm drawing someone specific or a character like here, so there's some part that is given, and I just try to find colors that match well. So that's about it. For example, if I want to paint something that's really light and airy and like fluffy, for lack of a better word, I would choose more like a pastel color scheme. If it's something more dramatic, I would want to work with a light source that's probably a bit more interesting and stuff like that. So it's mainly based on this decision first, and then as a result from like basically the storytelling part, if you would like to call it that way, then I will choose what colors I would use. If you may know or not know, I'm using washi tape often as well. So if I would use a tape, I would choose one or two and then look at the colors and would try to pick up the colors from the tape again. So, you know, in the end, it will just repeat the colors and like just look nicely. And I always like to use some color variation inside the colors as well. For example, for the hair, I did some light blue and purplish accents where the shadows are, so that the color itself is a bit more interesting. So I think I just look for the clothing reference that I was given. I was just asked to draw. So I can do like a basic line art for the clothing and then color in some of the base shadows first, because they will need some time to dry. Will just take a moment, just like a minute or so for me to open the reference. I will pick up coloring again. I've been talking for a while now. And when I'm really explaining things, I like to do it while paying attention to my explanation, because I'm not too good with words. Usually it's a bit hard for me to explain things easily, and so I try to get some experience with that, so that it gets better, but it's still sometimes a bit hard for me. There it is. It's been hiding from me. So okay. Does have a bit of a pattern, so it's not completely white. There's a bit of purple, like purple accents over there. Like some nice, really transparent overlays on the sleeves. Just took me a second to find the word. So as for the sleeves, they have the same pattern as over there. So I'm just like doing some rough lines to help me know where the different sections of the clothing start, so I will know later on, because for white clothing I don't really like to do too much of a line art, because that would be too visible in the end. So I'm just doing like really basic lines, really light, just a gray colored pencil. So just picking up a brush. For white it should be very, very clean. Just should test whether or not my water is clean enough, but I think it is. Yeah, it's not too bad. So I think I pan the camera a bit so that it focuses more on the lower part. Yeah, that should be better. And then no matter if something has like a pattern or not, or if I'm working with washi tape in the end, I always like to add the shadows first and then add the pattern later. And because there's a lot of purple, I will use a slightly purplish, yeah, it's not really a gray, it's like a very, very dusty grayish lavender tone, like a light blue, a bit of a mint to repeat the colors I've already used. So depending on that, I will just choose different hues for the shadows for white. For example, if it's something very warm tinted, it fits well with something that has like a very sunny background. Then you would choose like a blue and a, yeah, a bit like a beigey gray for this, so that it reflects the warm sunlight and the blue sky. And I keep just dabbing off the excess water, because with these kind of big brushes you usually pick up too much. And if there's too much water, it will just create these sharp watercolor lines. And there are some areas where I wouldn't mind them, but in general I will try to avoid these. So I'm not using too much water for coloring in general. No, I usually listen to music or um, have a um, have like a documentary or a Netflix series running on one of my screens, because I simply do not enjoy the silence. There's music running right now, but I don't know if you can hear it. It's like my usual. Yeah, it's not too loud nor too quiet, but in the last stream I noticed that it wasn't really picked up too much, so you might not hear it. Also, the stream might be delayed a bit, so I think it's only a few seconds. Oh, it's quite a lot. It's more than 10 seconds at least. I tried to count it, but it's quite a lot, so I just stopped. And so if you see the finished painting later on when I post it, you will see that there are some more color variations in here, which the camera probably doesn't pick up too well. Because there certainly are for the skin. Skin kind of looks a bit dull in the monitor, but it's better. It's, yeah, you can see it more clearly on photo, of course. In this area, as the skin is really close, I just want to pick up a bit of a pinkish hue as well and mix it in to reflect the skin a bit. I just, oops, integrate. I think for white it's always hard to find a balance that's not really paper white, but then again not gray. So it's best to really apply color slightly in some different layers and then see what happens, and then add some more color on or leave it be. Yep, that's sort of kimono. I think the reference I was given has a bit more um, of a Chinese influence as well. It's not really traditional, but I try to mix it a bit. It's like it's a photo reference. It's just like a sort of base guide. It's not something I was told to copy directly, which is good because creating something new and original is always more interesting and better to me. No, it's not a cosplay. It's like it's just the photo for the clothing is like from a seller. They can buy it. It's not looking as if it's a cosplay. But if it were, I would just want to make sure that it looks different for to not violate some copyright and something and things like that. I don't know why, but I really often end up drawing like these characters in some sort of kimono whenever I'm doing portrait commissions like this. It's not as if that's a specific thing I offered, and um, it turned out this way again. So I sometimes think that people might get the idea that I only do this sort of portrait commissions with a Japanese theme, but that's not it. It's just pure coincidence, or maybe they just like what they already saw from my previous ones and just said they wanted to have something similar. I don't know. In the end, it doesn't matter anyways, but yeah. It's actually the third time I've drawn this character as a commission. Um, the first one was in like her standard outfit because she delivers mail, so it just was like a mailman uniform, a custom one. It was just like a pencil sketch. That was the first one. The second one was a portrait as well, but um it was way smaller, and I think it was 2017. If you want to, I can show you the second one because I have it in my reference folder for this one, because it's quite interesting to see how my style has changed in the past 2 to 3 years. I plan to do more commissions this year because I hardly offered commission slots last year, mainly for just like conventions themselves, for like live commissions. But like this type of portraits are really fun to me, so I would love to do more. Well, I used to just basically draw whatever I wanted, so there's been quite a lot of variety style wise and theme wise for my drawings lately. But while I enjoy that, I think that I want to narrow it down a bit and at least create sets rather than just really random drawings, um, because it's just simpler to how should I explain it? For example, if you're at a convention and you want to choose a print from my print selection, and it would be nicer to have like 2 or 3 that match each other rather than everything just being a bit random. So I just want to create more sets overall, because that way I can still do what I like and change it up a bit, but it's not too much chaos. For example, I've been working on new prints, um, like over my New Year's break, winter break. Um, if you, for example, when you can see this one, along that one, they do not really have a lot in common. So at least as for this one, I made a second one to match, so that it's at least not too random, because I really enjoy working with a lot of detail, but at the same time I like to draw some really simple and minimalistic things as well. So with these kind of contradictions, it sometimes gets a bit hard. But yeah, I need to figure out how to make that work better in the future. To be honest, in the past, I've never really cared about things like branding too much, but I've noticed that I've been a bit stuck in my career for a while, so I just want to try out new things and change up what I usually did, to see some progress again. Because right now everything's fine. I'm not complaining or anything, but it's just a bit um, lacking in terms of growth. And of course, that's a thing that you really want to see for yourself working in that field. So thank you so much. I really appreciate the praise, and of course, um, it was really nice to talk to you. Nice to talk to you. Sorry. The color I'm using right now will be some base color for the peonies as well. So it's not the last time you see it. It's actually one of my favorite colors. I really like this. Like this one. I might need to clean up the hair in this part later on because I think I just overpainted it a bit, but that's not too much of an issue. That's easily fixable. Alright, so this will need quite a few layers to be even and nice looking. Sometimes really frustrating if the colors look really nice once they're so a bit wet and then dry, like really strangely. But I guess watercolors will always be a bit difficult. They're never the easiest to work with. I tried oils, like oil paint, very shortly before doing a workshop, and I really liked that as well. I think it would suit my style pretty nicely, but I never really got a set until this point. But maybe that's something to try for this year. I just don't know if I'm patient enough to let them dry properly, to be honest. I might be mistaken, but I think I saw some that had like a quick drying, or at least like a quicker drying formula. So maybe these would be quite nice to try. But yeah, if anyone has like really good recommendations for oils, let me know. It's really a shame that the workshop I mentioned was so short. It was really, really amazing. It was held by someone who works for, who does like illustration and concept art as well. He's working with like Magic the Gathering as well. Um, and he does like a basic painting with oils, then scans it and then works on it digitally, which is like super cool to me because I've never seen that technique before, and it really creates like a piece that's still organic looking, like it was painted traditionally, but then there are some of the, you can use the perks of digital art like for lights and stuff, and it didn't look fake at all. So I'd love to try that. But it's only like, I don't know, I think we only did like 2 or 3 days, like some hours, not too long. I think seeing other people and like getting a chance to study their techniques is probably one of the things that is most motivational for me, because I'm always eager to try out new stuff and like maybe learn a thing or two for my own art. So that's really, really cool. The good thing about using different media is that due to the fact that I use mostly markers and color pencils for the hair, it doesn't smudge when I apply the watercolors in this area that overlaps. So I really like to use markers as a base if it's something that's medium to dark colored, because otherwise sometimes it just gets really, really messy. I think my paper towel is close to reaching its limit. It's quite damp right now. Should probably get a new one soon. Maybe I just switch it with the one I have like in the upper corner. Because I don't really want to go to the kitchen in the middle of the stream to get a new one. left this part rough on purpose so that it's not too attention grabbing. It's a bit out of focus, so because there won't be anything over here. There's just like a small element that I maybe add later in this part, like another peony but just a liner, and like a shimmery color, maybe like a gold or like a light pink. I have to ask. Maybe you should ask before I add some color. What the commissioner prefers. Oops. Once I've added the color to the clothes, it looks like I did so much because it's such a large area, but in the end I didn't do too much for now. I always forget to drink and eat while working. I managed to save the stream I did this afternoon over the Instagram. This afternoon, so I can upload that to my IGTV later because I could upload it here, but since it's like a vertical format, it's not too great to look at here. So it might be better to upload it to Instagram directly. But yeah, I think what I did the base for the skin. Don't know what else I did. I think I didn't do too much. Bit work on the hair. But it's easier here since everything gets recorded automatically and you can access it later. If you like have to leave early or you just don't want to watch the entire thing and just skip in between. Because I'm quite slow, I know that. Of course I always appreciate it if you stay with me for the whole journey. But yeah, I do get that. it's sometimes a bit hard to do that. I think I might want to add a bit of lace here. Because the last time I drew her, I added some ruffles to this part, but I think it's nice maybe for this big one to add some more detail, so lace could be the better choice. And I've already committed, so too late. No, but I think it will look good. It's not a specific kind of lace, it's just what usually like a random thing I come up with. Unless it's like a lace fabric. And I will maybe take a look at a few references to get an idea of what patterns I want to do. But for this one, it's just like an improvised trim. And while I'm at it with the white ink, I can just fix the hair, this part of it, because I did across the lines of the hair with the purple. So just to make sure that it's really neat and tidy looking again, I'm just painting over it. I probably have to wait for the colors to dry at this point in the lower area, because otherwise the paper will buckle just too much. It's pretty warped right now, and like the main thing I will have to add is like a pattern to these parts. I have to very pale lavender color. So I'll probably continue with the flowers, because that's basically the last part that's still untouched, because that's just my line art. So I will pan the camera again and do a little zoom on that part. Whoops, that should be good. Yeah. Oh, you can tell because I forgot that I changed the camera angle. I just painted over the lace a bit so that it's less white, but nothing else happened at that point, so not too much of progress lost there. Just adding a tad bit of yellow to the center of the flowers, but I'll probably just add the little details with gouache later because they're just too fine. They easily get lost in the process. So sometimes it's better to redo them later instead of being overly focused and not touching them. Due to the fact that I already prepared a lot of the coloring process by adding this much of line art, it's quite easy to color the peonies. I just want one side to be a bit more saturated, so right now it's kind of neon pink. But I will add some more color to it in a second, so the color will change here and there. It's just like a base. You can always decrease the saturation from there, but it's hard to increase it with watercolor, so I'm starting with this really shiny stage and then just go darker and less saturated from there. By the way, the color I'm using right now is the same one I used for this part, so it should match up nicely in the end. I probably add the pattern to the lilac stripes later on off screen, because that's usually a part where I have to get really close to the paper. And I would just block the entire view with my head, which isn't really desirable, of course. And I think it needs a bit more time to dry, more than I need to finish up the other areas. And I'm always streaming for like 1 hour and 3/4, 45 minutes. So I just need to get up and do like a bit of exercise for my back, because I had really terrible back issues in summer, and I've been a bit cautious ever since. So I have to stretch a bit and like get up and walk around a bit in order not to stiffen up too much. Because in the past I've been like painting for 8 hours straight without ever taking a break, and that really wasn't the best idea for my health. So I think I will probably stream for another like 15 minutes or so, and then just take a break and finish off the other things off camera, because it's not really much left at this point. As I said, some detail work, but that's really for me to be like very close to the paper. That's nothing I should be doing while streaming with the camera in front of my face, because after all, it's a commission. It's important to get the quality right in the end. If it were like just for pure fun or something, I wouldn't really mind too much, but with this, the quality is really important. So I have to prioritize this over really showing everything in the end. But I've streamed like 95% of the coloring process so far. So I hope that's something to be excused. I want to make the top peony a bit darker because then it's easier to figure out that it's actually two flowers instead of only one. peonies are always the most fun to me because they're my favorite flower. And they were my favorite flower for a very long time, ever since I was small, because we had one in our garden and I really loved it. It was the same color as the top one, like this slightly darker pinkish red. And I actually found out later on, like only like 2 or 3 years ago maybe, that there's an actual link between my real name and the flower, so that's quite cool. Because like destiny decided that I should like this flower. So I do have a real special bond with the peonies. It's one of the reasons why my art collection from the past few years is called Peony as well. Another reason was that the book was actually released during the season in which the peony blooms, so it all matched up quite nicely in the end. So as I said, I need to clean my brushes and my water. I need to take a little bit of a break. So the stream's gonna end soon. So for now, I just want to say that I'm really thankful that you joined me here. I hope you enjoyed it, although I didn't get to maybe do too exciting stuff because close to the end it's always just more detail work and so on. So I think for most the part where I color skin and stuff like that is most interesting. But I hope I can share more streams in the future again, because it really helps me to keep my focus on work instead of being distracted by like emails and notifications and the whole social media stuff, which really like I need to invest a lot of time in messages and stuff. So it's nice to just sit down, plain, talk to you, or you can talk to me like vocally back, but you can write comments, which I really like to hear. Yeah, I will post the finished painting in a few hours, I guess, or tomorrow in the evening. It depends on when I get to finish the rest. If you want to watch more YouTube streams in the future, be sure to check my Instagram stories, and maybe if you want, you can also subscribe to my channel here, so you should get a notification every time I'm planning a new stream, because I try to do it with a schedule in the future rather than just like spontaneously coming up with a stream. So yeah, for now I will let it dry, do a short break, and yeah, hopefully we'll see each other in a future stream again, or in the comments. I always love them. Yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see each other. Bye.